What's good, everybody? Welcome into yet another glorious episode of your favorite wrestling show with two guys that have actual credibility. It's the Coach and Bro Show. Of course, I am the coach, and my partner back this week after a little bit of a traveling hiatus. There is only one, Vince Russo. And Vince, I know you're a baseball guy, so you'll understand the text that I got from Big Tommy C this morning. He said, Coach, do I need to Wally Pip Vince again on his own show? Interesting.
Yeah,
Your thoughts?
very interesting. But I want to thank the great Tommy Carlucci for filling in. But is it too early for rants? I know it's Monday. We usually do a rant of the week on a what, Wednesday? Is it
Usually Wednesday, but it feels good today. So if you've got something you need to get off your chest, get it off your chest.
And you won't take it personal.
I promise I won't take it personal.
Okay. How good? No, producer man, please put those topics back up that we're going to discuss today, please. Producer man. Okay. I'm looking at these topics.
Okay.
Paul Tyson spectacle. Raw premiere set.
Yep.
Lynch set to return.
Yes.
Backstage pass.
100%.
How convenient. There is no longer football talk when I put up a 3-0 weekend. Oh, we don't want to talk because I'm outshining. I'm outshining the authorities. 3-0, coach. What'd I tell you about CU, coach? What'd I tell you?
You told me that Colorado was going to start to play a little bit better. You did.
I gave the points. I took the over.
Correct.
What'd I tell you about your Chiefs and the Bills?
You said they would lose. You did say they would lose.
3-0.
So I apologize that I didn't bring one universe over to this universe, but I had to make an executive decision in your absence. And in your absence, as I looked at all the numbers, we are killing it in the wrestling game. For whatever reason, a lot of people don't come to us for NFL picks, even though you're the hottest capper on planet Earth.
I'm the hot. Yeah, I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm trying to win these people money, but for whatever reason, they just want to talk about wrestling with us.
I know, I can't figure it out.
For whatever reason.
So we will still have Vince do NFL picks on Driving the Line on Wednesdays, but then you'll get all the wrestling here. So I think that's a good compromise, don't you, Vince?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's where I did give the picks on Outside the Line.
DT.
So,
Outside, that's an old ESPN show.
It's
Driving the Line. Outside the Lines was a show years
Remember
ago.
Outside? I remember Outside the Line.
I was there. I was at ESPN at that point. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about tonight. By the way, if you're not subscribing to Backstage Pass, we kind of split the show into two things, about 20, 25 minutes right here on the front page or on the YouTube channel, and then over on Backstage Pass. And Vince, the first topic when we get to Backstage Pass, I hope you're ready because I'm coming after you. You made a spectacle of yourself, and I'm coming after you. First topic, Backstage Pass, if people want to go there right now.
I can't wait. I look forward to it, Coach.
I know you do.
Yeah.
Now, we've got three big topics here on this side of the fence. And over the weekend, all anybody was talking about, and I don't care who you were, was about Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. And I saw a lot of people, because the buffering, it wasn't working correctly, over 60 million people tuned in for this thing. So say what you want at the start about Jake Paul. He knows how to put on an event. And Mike Tyson is still a draw at least one more time.
Coach, this could have been perhaps I'm gonna teach you a new term. You know, mamby pamby, girly man, sissy Mary.
I use it all the time now.
Yeah. This was the biggest flim flam shammy shim I ever saw in my life. Now, Coach, you got to understand, and I've said this many times, I am not a boxing expert.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a UFC guy. That's not my bag. Anybody, any of the 60 million that watched this fight knew without a shadow of a doubt this was a work. This was a money grab. I'm glad, from what I understood, Tyson may have had some financial problems. I'm glad Mike Tyson made $20 million. I'm glad Paul's bank account got richer. But here's the question I ask, Coach.
Okay.
Because this is going to have a direct correlation to professional wrestling. See, Coach, here's why we're over. Nobody talks about what we talk about, Coach.
100%.
Yeah, because here's why we're over. I'm going to tell you right now, Coach.
Okay.
Think about this. I love to pick the coach's brain. Think about this, Coach. 60 million people watch this Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
My first question is, how many people canceled Netflix after they figured out they were worked? How many people canceled when they saw this 16-minute sham, shim, flim, flam of a match? How many people canceled pissed off that they got worked? Now, does that affect whether some of these people were on the fence about paying for WWE Raw? Am I now going to pay more money to a company and a network and a streaming service that blatantly ripped me off? Am I going to pony up twice now, Coach?
It's a fascinating question because I would love, there's a lot of layers to this. And part of the reason they did this fight was to practice their live event stuff. Because let's remember, Netflix has always been a taped show, reality shows, stuff that's taped and in the can. Mm-hmm. They haven't really done live events before. So this was a chance to dip the toe in the water. And I don't think they thought that their servers were going to get 60 million people, first and foremost. And I don't know the answer, Vince, to whether or not you could just get Netflix for the 1 month and then cancel it. I don't know that number. But I do know this. There were a lot of people that were complaining because it did not work. Yeah. And if you're going to be the NFL, which Jerry Jones was on set, microphone doesn't work. Him and Michael Irvin are over there, and they're all over the place. And then you're going to bring in Cedric the Entertainer. And he clearly didn't have a clue who was even fighting on that night. I said, oh, what are we doing? Then you got Rosie Perez. God bless her. But you're going to, if you're Jake Paul, he loves to put his buddies, and I work with him in the PFL, full transparency. But when you put your friends on the broadcast, that doesn't always necessarily mean it's the best broadcast.
Coach, not only that, would you believe I'm waiting? I wrap up my Sportskeeda show on Friday for the Backstage Pass. I'm looking forward to watching this fight. Mm-hmm. Coach, would you believe I missed the fight live? Coach,
because it didn't work?
No. The female who was hosting this thing, do you know her name by chance?
Yeah, she does a lot of soccer. She did a lot of the World Cup. She's one of the top, if not the top host in the world. Okay. She comes on and says, we are now within 2 hours of the Tyson Paul fight. 2 hours. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to see these preliminary matches with these ham and eggs I don't know. So I'm like, I'm going to go watch something else, and I'm going to come back, because I got 2 hours. Oh, wow. I see what you're saying. So in the meantime, I'm watching something else, and I'm tweeting my daughter in Brooklyn, and I said, are you getting ready? Are you going to watch the Tyson fight tonight? She texts me back, the Tyson fight, it's already over. I'm like, bro, it was an hour later after the woman said we're 2 hours away from the fight. Mm-hmm. Are you freaking kidding me? I missed the fight because she didn't even know what time the fight was going to start. Normally on a big pay-per-view, and this is absolutely no excuse, but it feels like, so whether it's a UFC or PFL, which was what I do, PFL, and normally when the pay-per-view starts, you just go right through. So you've got to be ready by a certain time. And then if you go later, it felt like this was kind of like that. Since people were not paying for it, they said, we're just going to send people out when we can. And whenever the main event, because normally on a boxing pay-per-view events, you say, all right, the main event cannot go in before 11:15. Yes. So this does not happen. Yes. No. And no. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
They didn't do that.
Unbelievable. I had to go to YouTube and literally watch the fight that I was waiting for and anticipating because they couldn't even tell me what time the fight was going to start.
That's true. Now, there were a lot of people too. The reason this is our lead story, not only was it big, but a lot of people compared it to a pro wrestling event. And say what you want, I will stand on this, Vince. I don't know how many people, certainly how many boxers right now, because now Jake Paul has openly, and I'll give him a lot of credit for this. He keeps saying, I want to fight this guy, this guy, this guy. And those guys, until Friday night, didn't want any part of him. And now, Vince, I started to see on social media, because money always talks. Gervonta Davis said, hey, I'll come in. I'm a lot smaller, but I'll whip that ass. And I'll make, when they're seeing Mike Tyson at 60 years of age make $20 million and a high payday these days in the boxing world, a high one, unless you're Canelo, is 2 or 3 million. Now, all of a sudden, Jake Paul is no longer a joke because he's delivering the checks that they all want.
Exactly. Absolutely. And, like I said, Coach, I don't know if it's true or not, but, I was reading Tyson was having some financial woes. So, I mean, Coach, when I think about this, we're talking about, think of how much money changed hands. I'm not just talking about to the fighters. I'm talking about, think about how much money Netflix made over 16 minutes. This was a 16-minute boxing exhibition.
But that's where I challenge you a little bit. Did they really make that much money? How many people got Netflix just for this fight? I didn't. I already had Netflix. So a lot of people did. To me, it was a way for them to, I think ultimately they'll take a net loss.
Do you really,
a net loss. Wow. Yeah, only because they fronted the $60 million to Jake and to Tyson. Yeah. And then Jake, it was the highest paid purse for a female fight in the history of boxing. So that's another solid that Jake Paul did. But to me, I thought they might start with commercials, because as they move forward, I think you might have a price with commercials, but without. But if you're doing live events, Vince, then why wouldn't you have commercials in an NFL game? You have to. So why wouldn't you do this one like that, roll some commercials in and make some money that way? Again, I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. But I would love to see how many people signed up just for this fight. Yeah. What would you estimate you think it would be?
Well, they said 60 million people watched it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
God, Coach, if I had a guess, I would say at least 25% of that.
So let's say 10 million signed up. Okay, let's use that number just for our argument. So 10, and I think Netflix is now $15.
15 sounds right. Yes.
All right. So if 10 million people signed up at $15, they absolutely made money, because that would be 150 million new dollars that they would bring in. Right. And then a lot of people, because we see the commercials all the time, I do it too, I forget to cancel these damn memberships.
Yeah. That's why you got to get Rocket money.
You got to get Rocket money. We need them here in Austria.
So, Coach, but hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you, but so you think the new subscribers is far less than 10 million?
I do. I really do.
What do you think that number is?
I was going to guess in the hundreds of thousands, to be honest with
you.
Really? I really do. I really do.
We're way. You and I are on way separate sides on that.
I really do. I think that a lot of things happened where they realized how popular something can be when you don't have to pay a pay-per-view price. I think Netflix, they've always been really, really smart. I think they'll figure out a way to make this model work. But I also think from a betting perspective, a lot of people didn't realize you could bet on it until the last few days. And then DraftKings, I think, was the big sponsor of it. And so many people bet on Tyson. This is the other part that shocked me, that he started at like minus 3,000, Jake Paul. It got all the way down, Vince, to minus 220. Wow. You could bet on Jake Paul. That was an absolute layup. Can you believe that?
Yeah, especially
that.
The age difference alone. It's just wow, that's insane. That's
Yeah.
insane.
And I think the last thing that, and then we'll move on, is that people were complaining about was Jake Paul said after the fight that he took it easy on
Right.
Iron Mike.
Right.
And people tune in to see a spectacle and a different kind of a spectacle, to see Iron Mike one more time. Those people that aren't as old as we are, Vince, that didn't get to see him walk down to the ring as a 21-year-old beast who
Yeah.
had grown men scared out
Yeah.
of their minds to
Yeah.
even step in the ring. That
Yeah.
was Iron Mike. It was about the pre-show. It was
Yeah.
never about the actual fight,
Yeah.
because he killed everybody.
But Coach, I can't believe it. Everybody knows that, who listens to me. Like, man, I am always, every single week, all over Seth Rollins. Stop hitting people like a girl. Like, please stop hitting people like a girl. But I'm watching this, Coach, and I'm literally watching Jake Paul hit him with the insult. Hit him like, does anybody watching this fight believe one single thing that they're seeing?
That's the thing. When you make, and I think that's why there's positives and negatives to this whole situation. Because I think, and I would love to talk to Jake Paul. I'm a big fan of what he does as a promoter. But if you're going to make $40 million a fight, a top prize fighter, a top one, Vince, you're talking Canelo at his prime was 30 million, maybe. If Jake Paul wants to make this kind of money and be taken seriously as a fighter,
yes,
then I saw somebody make a list of the guys that he's fought. Everybody's over 40 or over 55. And I want to see Jake Paul step in there against somebody real. And to his credit, he continues to call them out, but I wonder if he calls them out because he knows they will not accept. He wants Conor McGregor. And he goes, Conor McGregor will never fight me, so I'll fight him in an MMA. Can you imagine those two? The amount of money that would make?
Yeah, unbelievable. And it might happen. I mean, based off this, who knows?
No doubt about it. All right, so Jake Paul, Mike Tyson in the rear view. What's right in front of us was made an announcement this week, and that is that the very first Monday Night Raw events will be in Los Angeles, about 47 miles exactly from where I'm sitting right now, the Intuit Dome. It is the most technologically advanced arena ever built, and it's the new home of the LA Clippers. And Triple H showed up at Travis Scott's concert this past weekend after he went to UFC 309 to announce and give him a hardcore belt that he will be a part of this revolutionary, historic night on Netflix January 6th. Are they laying this out the right way?
Coach, this is what makes me laugh. Guys, please listen to me. Listen to old negative, bitter Vince Russo. When you watch any show, when you watch Raw, when you watch SmackDown, please look at the crowd. Please look at the audience, okay? These are not people, Coach, that listen to when they brought Bugs Bunny in. These are not people that listen to him. These are not Travis Scott people. Here's what they did, Coach. They did the same thing with Bad Bunny. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm a writer, Coach. I am a writer. So they bring in Bad Bunny. Now they bring in Travis Scott. This is not your audience. This is not your audience. So what are they trying to do, Coach? They're trying to bring their audience over into the show. I get it. Travis Scott has a huge audience. Bad Bunny, huge audience. We're trying to bring them to wrestling. Here's the problem. And we talk about this all the time, Coach. They come over, they watch. There's nothing that hooks them because the creative is so weak. There isn't an Austin that hooks them. There isn't a Rock that hooks them. So what happens? As soon as Bad Bunny collects his money and goes home, all Bad Bunny's followers go with him. As soon as Travis Scott gets his paycheck and goes home, all of Travis Scott's, I don't know why they do this, Coach, because listen, we used Tyson back in the day at WrestleMania to bring over Tyson's audience. But the idea was when they're here, we're going to grab them. They're going to be addicted to this show. Now they're going to become WWF fans. These people do not become fans of the WWE because the creative is not good enough to make them want to come back once Travis Scott is no longer on the show. This is, to me, Coach, a Tony Khan in many ways, because they're paying buku amount of money to get this guy in there, thinking its audience is going to come over, which they will. But guess what, Coach? As soon as he goes back, we're right back to the same numbers we're doing every single week.
Let that resonate for a second. I just want you guys to listen to everything that Vince said. And I think that you guys can learn a lot from this show. And the world of wrestling does not work with one-offs. There's a reason why when I got to the WWE, one of the first things I was taught is that if we're going to bring in celebrities or we're going to bring in somebody from the outside, it better make sense. Because Vince always believed, McMahon always believed, that the wrestlers and the show were the stars. Because guess who's going to be there week after week after week? The wrestlers who are the stars.
Right.
And I remember many times, Vince, we would bring celebrities out. And I'm not saying that at certain events or certain times they might not have a place, but when you're going to launch on Netflix and you're going to be in a scenario where you want to have that first big one, I got to have somebody that's going to interact with another big star, something to that effect. And I'm assuming as a writer, that's where you would start. And Travis Scott the other night in the video I watched, he didn't know where the show was going to be, first of all. He was like, we'd love to have you a part. And he's like, where's it going to be at? Los Angeles. I mean, we should already know that. And then also, he weighs about $140. So are we going to put him in some type of a physicality? The answer is no to that. And I don't know how big of a fan Travis Scott is, but I could not agree with you anymore, Vince, that WWE fans are not out there blasting Travis Scott on their Spotify every single day. He's got 12 million followers. That's what they want.
Coach, you know how you always knew it was a fit with the right talent and the boys? Here's how you always knew. When the talent and the boys you'd bring them backstage and they would mark out for each other.
Oh my God.
And a lot of them, Coach, are, men's men. I was there when Chuck Norris came in. Okay, they're watching Chuck Norris. They're watching Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're watching a Sylvester Stallone. They're watching these people. But none of these people are listening to Travis Scott. So
you're so right.
But Coach, it's a great idea and it's a great play if your show is good enough to grab those fans. It's not, Coach.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the one thing that either they're in a little bit of denial about, or behind the scenes they know they need to fix it. And right now they're struggling to figure out what is the right play, because then you've got that big elephant in the room of where does The Rock fit in? We know that these are Hollywood people that own this company now. Yeah. It's no longer a privately owned company or even a Vince-run company. And so when you're Hollywood, a lot of Hollywood collaborations, they feel like that's what works. And that's what they're trying to do. Yeah. It's going to be fascinating. You remember, who when he showed up, everybody marked out for, and he's even participated over the years because he takes everything he does seriously fun. And that's what I used to refer to as Shaq. When Shaq would show up, every time we were in LA, he would show up, and he respected the boys so much, and they loved him because he would come. He's like a big kid, and even to this day, he's a big kid in his 50s. That's the type of thing that would work.
You want to hear a great Shaq story?
100%.
You'll love this, Coach. I swear, we were doing the Attitude Era. It was the time when Mr. McMahon was in the wheelchair.
Oh,
Coach, I swear to you, I'm doing my work backstage. You know how show days are crazy.
Crazy.
I turn around. There's Shaquille O'Neal in his prime.
Coach, oh, my God. Locked.
Did not know he was coming to the show. Was not invited to the show. He just shows up.
Wow.
And I'm like, Coach, no way, no how is he not being on the show. No way. So, Coach, I swear, man, I went up to Shaq. We didn't pay him a dime. And I'm like, brother, would you mind doing a pre-tape with Vince McMahon? Bro, he did it in a heartbeat. And that's when Vince comes rolling over in the wheelchair. Who are you? Do you have a pass to be here? Vince throws his ass out. Vince wheels away, and he goes, oh, so that's why everybody calls you an asshole. But, Coach, he just showed up to watch the show. We didn't pay him. We didn't know he was going to be there, and he wound up being on the show.
And that's the difference, too. A lot of the celebrities from 98 to 2000, they didn't require payment. They wanted to be on the show so badly to get the rub from The Rock and Stone Cold and Triple H and Undertaker. The rub meant something back then. The rub was what you needed if you had a movie coming out or if you had a big song that you wanted them to play. You get that played on Monday Night Raw, all of a sudden it's a #1 song.
Yes.
Nowadays, it's about payments. It's about everybody that's on, because social media didn't really exist back then.
Yeah.
Now, nobody wants to come on anything without getting paid.
Right.
How about the platform that you get to be on? Right. There's value in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the final topic on this side, don't forget plenty more. And we're talking about the Costco-verse. And also, I'm putting Vince on the hot seat over on Backstage Pass. But Vince, the one thing that continues to be overlooked as these dirt sheets misquote us week after week after week is the fact that a lot of these opinions, we are correct. And Becky Lynch this past weekend was doing an appearance in Los Angeles at a panel to promote her best-selling book, etc., etc. Obviously, she was asked about her absence from WWE, which we have talked about. And I have told you, and you have told me, what you think the absence is attributed to. And I will stand on this because earlier this year, she was on the Ariel Helwani show. He asked her directly, you get your new deal done? She's like, I would say that I will be back sooner rather than later. Evaded the question. She's on this panel, gets asked directly again, and this time she alluded to it, but again, evaded the question. If she's not negotiating in the public right now, when she's watching this ladies division, women's division absolutely trip all over themselves, then I've never seen a negotiation in my life.
Yeah, Coach, there's a couple of things working here against the WWE that they don't necessarily deal with a lot, and they don't like dealing with it.
Tell me.
Becky Lynch does not need their money. And on top of that, I kind of get the feeling, based on some of the things she has said in the past, Becky Lynch enjoys being a mom. So with that being said, with her husband bringing home millions and millions and millions of dollars, if Becky Lynch isn't one of these, marks that are in the ring, and she's got to get back just for the sake of wrestling, because they love wrestling so much and they love that limelight so much. If she's not one of those people, she's got them right here because she doesn't need the money. She enjoys being at home. And she's going to hold out till she gets what she wants. That's what it seems to me is going on right now, Coach.
And I think you're absolutely right, and it plays into everything I said.
Yes,
I don't get having done this show with you for a few months now, I'm used to the vultures coming. Yeah. I'm used to the one. They don't like what you're saying. You're an idiot. You're a moron.
Right.
But everything I've said, I will say that I'm absolutely right because of how it's played out.
Yep.
I don't ever remember, Vince, a scenario with a big star, and nobody has touted Becky Lynch more than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at WrestleMania a few years ago when she did something nobody has been able to do. And that is create a nickname that historically has been all about men in a men's-driven business,
right?
And get it over and then take that to main eventing WrestleMania.
Right.
That deserves nothing but respect and a tip of the cap. But when you are in a position where you're still technically in your prime, Vince, and you still can be that top star, and I use the number 2 million, and I've been quoted many, many places that I think it's 2 million and more. The way I got misquoted was they said, well, coach said that WWE offered her $2 million a year.
No,
Have I ever said that?
never said that, coach.
Never
Never
said
said.
that. I
Nope.
said the number I think she wants to get over is $2 million, because we know that the male counterparts, in particular her husband, or I think they're married. Let's call husband or boyfriend, either way.
Husband, they're
Uh,
married. They're married.
okay, they're married. All right, Seth Rollins, and he's making in the 4 to 8 million mark, in that range. Cody's the next, and then you got Roman over 15 or 20. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility that the UFC has kind of infiltrated, Vince, the WWE. In the UFC, who owns the WWE, they only have a couple of guys that get super, super, super top dollar. We saw him this past weekend, John Jones, and then they still call Conor McGregor a UFC fighter. Haven't seen him in 4 years.
Right.
So to me, he's not a UFC fighter, but he commanded top dollar. To me, Becky Lynch sitting out and watching this train wreck of a women's division where you've got a couple that don't even have any chemistry. Then you got Rhea Ripley. She's out. She comes back. You've got the biggest schmoz I've ever seen to lead into a War Games that means nothing to me. If you're Becky Lynch sitting at home right now watching last Monday night, I'm like, my ass just keeps going up and up and up and up. But if UFC execs stick to their guns, we might not see Becky Lynch, because the history shows they don't want to pay top dollar for certain people.
So the question is this, coach, to you: who blinks first?
Well, I'm going to lean into your argument. It's Becky's not going to come back for $750,000.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the number before I get misquoted again, but she wants to come back for top dollar. And I'll be honest with you, she deserves top dollar, because right now, without Becky Lynch, without Charlotte Flair, there is a gaping hole, and you cannot substitute for star power. You cannot walk down to any corner or at any airport or any venue and go, hey, you, come here. I want to make you Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
They don't grow on trees. And TKO and those executives need to understand that.
And there's another side to this, coach. Not only does she want to come back for top dollar, but you can bet she got a taste of being a mom. And
Yes.
I told you, her first interview out of the chute was on Austin's show, where she said, wrestling is no longer the most important thing in my life. So what that tells me, coach, is two things. Number one, more money. Number two, less dates.
That is a fascinating topic that has changed over the years. It used to be, I don't give a damn if you're a mom or not. I don't give a damn if you are sick or not. You're going to work every single week, every single house show. Now the rumor is okay, the schedule's a little less loose. They taped 2 Raws last week so they can have Thanksgiving off, which those dates don't really add up. But what if because this is the way, to me, this is the way it should be anyway, because you can get burnout quickly if you're a fan and seeing a top star. Tom Cruise would get burnout. Do you think they would ever give her a schedule 2 times a month?
If they begin to feel like they're desperate for her, I think they're going to give her whatever she wants. But I don't know. Coach, I just don't know if they're going to get to that point, because look at it. You've got Charlotte on the shelf. So they got Charlotte coming back. I'm reading reports now that I guess Alexa Bliss is ready to come back at any time. So I think the more of these girls coming back, I think the value of Becky may go down just a little. So it really just depends on how badly they want her.
I've heard the Alexa Bliss rumors too, and part of the reason that she has been out so long, she also became a mom. She also, has a child at home, and I don't think we can underestimate. Well, you and I have worked with a lot of women who became moms, and I don't say this in a negative way, because we all would feel that way. The draw to being home with that child is so great.
It is
that
yes.
It's hard to really focus on your character and making that the most important thing. So we completely get that. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting, but I think it also goes back to the argument that nobody has disparaged yet from you, is that when you start in the end zone and you work your way back, then maybe TKO says, we've already got our money. We've
Yeah.
already got that Netflix money.
Yep.
You know, to me, it would be like, okay, we've got the Netflix money. How can we make the next one bigger?
Yep.
How can we make the show better?
Yep.
And I don't see that. I don't feel that right now with less than 2 months until we launch on Netflix.
Well, also, let's talk about this too, Coach, because man, they've got this in their back pocket and they're going to hang their hat on this and they're going to ride this. It looks like the first Netflix show is going to be Cena's return. So that's going to be a big draw for them for the next year.
It kind of feels like the SmackDown debut episode on Fox when they signed that big $1 billion deal. They announced it. I just what I fear is once the bloom is off the rose, and they've got to figure out how long is the show going to be. They got to figure out if fans are going to stick around with commercials in it, commercials not in it. How does that affect the bottom line that they've already spent? Netflix has some figuring out to do that I don't think they've given out to the public yet, but it'll be fascinating. It'll be fascinating.
It will be very interesting, yes.
But I do think there are some superstars that are worthy of bending your rules, and I think Becky Lynch ultimately is one of those. Yeah. All right, we've got a lot more topics to get to, but you have to go over to Backstage Pass if you're not a subscriber yet. We encourage you to do so. You can check out the Coach and Bro Show, also JBL and Gerald Briscoe. You've got WrestleZone Radio, all kinds of things over at Backstage Pass.